Welcome to Leading the Herd, a podcast proudly brought to you by Nbryo, a global leader in bovine reproductive technologies, where we bring you insights, tips, and the latest innovations in bovine breeding. I'm your host, Rebecca Arnott, and today we're taking a deeper dive into one of the critical components of an IVF program, the selection and management of donor cattle. While I covered the basics in our last episode, this time I'll go into more detail, which I hope will help optimise the results from your next program. IVP isn't just about choosing your highest EBV cows or best heifers, it's about a strategic, data-informed approach to maximising oocyte yield and quality, embryo viability, and ultimately the return on your investment through genetic progress and meeting market requirements. When we talk about IVF or IVP, the donor cow plays a foundational role, both genetically and physiologically. Donor selection should begin with clear breeding objectives. Are you driving terminal traits such as growth, marbling or carcass yield? Key maternal traits such as fertility or calving ease? Perhaps it's feed efficiency or a combination. Once you've identified your genetically elite donors, you need to ensure they are structurally correct, physically healthy and reproductively sound. These are the cows most likely to perform consistently across multiple IVP cycles. Look beyond raw EBVs and consider genomic data, actual progeny performance, and past reproductive history. Cows with proven performance under commercial conditions, alongside solid fertility metrics, are ideal candidates. Donors should also be empty or less than 3 months pregnant. Beyond that point, ovarian activity begins to decline. It can become physically challenging to reach the ovaries, and aspiration success tends to drop off significantly. If you are using pregnant donors, be mindful that the technician won't aspirate follicles close to the corpus luteum in order not to disturb the fetus. As a result, oocyte numbers collected may be lower, but on the flip side, there is data available to suggest embryo quality and pregnancy rates may be higher in pregnant donors. Donors must also be cycling. Since cows tend to be in anestrus for a period of a month or more after calving, it's best to avoid doing any ovum pickups during this period. Avoid using any animals with a history of calving difficulties or retained placentas. And if you have animals that aren't cycling, hormone treatments may be necessary to get them started again. Age also plays a role when it comes to donor selection. While heifers should in theory have better genetics than your older cows, oocyte yields are typically lower and take longer to reach collection size. The sweet spot for donors is generally around 3 to 6 years, which gives the best balance of follicular activity and oocyte quality. In terms of donor numbers, if you don't have the minimum 20 to 25 head needed to warrant an on-farm OPU, or you have a small number of elite donors, taking these animals to a donor centre or teeing up a collection with someone else in the district is likely to be the most cost-effective solution. Any additional risks, such as biosecurity, risk of disease, or transport, should be weighed up in terms of the cost versus expected benefit. If you are doing an on-farm OPU for the first time, or if the donors aren't proven for IVP, we recommend having a minimum of 25 head, as inevitably some will be deemed unsuitable or won't have sufficient follicles to warrant aspirating. There are several reasons this can occur. However, the ones we most commonly see are donors being more than 3 months pregnant, not cycling, or they may have irregular cycles, or they may have cysts, scarring on the ovaries, e.g. from multiple FSH treatments, or they might have a low follicular count. And last of all, some animals are, for whatever unexplainable reason, better suited to IVP than MOAT, or vice versa. So if you have a donor that hasn't performed well with MOAT, you could well find she is a great IVP donor. Once you've identified suitable donors, preparation is key. And as you'll hear us say time and time again, nutrition is paramount and something we will continue to emphasise. Donors should be in body condition score 2.5 to 3.5, but more importantly, they should be on a rising plane of nutrition in the 4 to 6 weeks prior to OPU, with sufficient energy and protein. It's better for donors to have a lower body condition score and be on a rising plane of nutrition than the other way around. Overweight cows may have a high follicular count, but the quality of the oocytes can be lower. If pastures are short and green or have a high clover content, make sure there is grassy hay available to provide enough roughage. Certain types of clover, especially older varieties of subclover, contain phytoestrogens, which mimic estrogen in the animal's body. This can alter follicular dynamics, reduce the number of viable oocytes available for aspiration, and cause irregular cycles, cystic ovaries, or suppressed heat, which in turn can negatively impact the timing and success of OPU. On top of this, embryo quality and therefore pregnancy rates can also be compromised. Health, of course, is also a priority. While most reproductive diseases are more likely to have a greater impact on recips than donors, it is important that donors are vaccinated according to your herd health plan more than 4 to 6 weeks prior to OPU. Many embryo transfer vets recommend a multi-min treatment 3 months prior to OPU. Otherwise, monitoring trace elements in your herd and/or soils is recommended, especially minerals such as copper, selenium, zinc and phosphorus, and vitamins A, D and E, which all influence follicular health. While many producers opt for hormone-free IVP programs based on ease and simplicity in terms of on-farm management, those wanting to optimize outcomes may choose to incorporate a synchrony program. I'll cover different protocols in another episode, but the key thing here is attention to detail, particularly in terms of the timing, administration, and accuracy of hormone treatments, as well as minimizing stress. It's critical if you do make a mistake with any component of a program, which happens a lot, to let your technician know immediately so any modifications can be made. Evaluating donor performance in IVP cycles is another important component for those wanting to optimize results. I'll cover metrics such as follicular count, oocyte recovery rates, oocyte quality, cleavage rates, and blastocyst rates in another podcast. And lastly, ongoing donor management between cycles is crucial. While donors can be aspirated every 2 weeks, it is important to provide rest periods of 1 to 2 cycles, depending on the animal's response, maintain a stress-free environment, and a good plate of nutrition. In summing up, optimal results are achieved with optimal donor management. This is a strategic process that requires best practice management systems, technical precision, and data analysis. All the little 1%ers can result in more grade 1 embryos and more healthier calves on the ground. For others, having only 1 yarding for OPU and no hormone treatments may be the biggest drawcard and generally yields significant genetic improvement. Either way, it is important to select donors not only on genetic merit but also on reproductive fitness and historical performance. Good selection and preparation is critical, particularly in terms of health status, nutritional balance, and minimising stress. And if you are incorporating a synchronisation protocol, accuracy is paramount. A big thank you to Nbryo for supporting this series. Our team of reproductive specialists are working with breeders around Australia to optimise donor programs and improve IVP outcomes, whether you're getting started or running regular programs. If you'd like to learn more, get in touch via our website, nbryo.com. And if you found today's episode valuable, please share it with a colleague or leave a review. Together we can accelerate genetic improvement, increase your bottom line, and reduce emissions at the same time.